Tonight on Sports Night in Auburn, we catch you up on the past 2 weeks of Auburn sports.
This includes football, basketball, volleyball, and swim and dive.
Stay tuned to see what we've got. Sports Night in Auburn starts right now.
Auburn, Alabama, the best atmosphere in all of college sports.
He drives and slips.
Welcome to Sports Night in Auburn.
Going deep to the left.
Welcome to Sports Night in Auburn.
Sideline. Going to the
Welcome to Sports Night in Auburn.
And welcome back to Sports Night in Auburn.
Welcome to Sports Night in Auburn. I'm Faith Richardson.
And I'm Justin Stuckey. Tonight is our last show of the semester. Faith, some sad times.
I'm very sad. What are your plans over break?
Well, we got to finish out Sports Night in Auburn.
Right.
Then the entire break, I'm going to be planning how we can make Sports Night in Auburn better for the new year.
We'll be back after.
So make sure y'all check in. But Faith, what are you going to ask Santa for Christmas?
I think I'm going to ask Santa for a lot of new clothes that consist of sweatshirts, sweatpants, and some Sports Night in Auburn clothes.
Yeah, I need Sports Night in Auburn clothes, so if you got the plug with Santa, let me know.
Well, before we begin Iron Bowl, we have coverage on Auburn versus New Mexico State. Here's reporter Mikayla Kelly with her take on the game.
There will be absolutely no trees rolled tonight at Toomer's Corner. In a game where Auburn was favored by double digits, they let New Mexico State come in and absolutely handle them, losing 31-10. It may be Thanksgiving break, but that did not stop Auburn fans from showing out to see the Tigers take on the Aggies of New Mexico State. Auburn entered the matchup 3-0 all-time. In the opening drive, a pair of pass interferences from the Auburn defense allowed the Aggies to move 75 yards on an 11-play drive, setting them up for a touchdown. A pass from Diego Pavia to David Cordell. The Tigers were forced to punt 2 of 3 drives in the first half, courtesy of 3 penalties. The flag became the star of the show as 19 penalties were committed by both teams combined. Things started to look up for Auburn in the second quarter as Peyton Thorne connected with Rivaldo Fairweather for a touchdown, his 6th this season. But New Mexico State answered right back with a field goal and went into the half up by 3. As night fell on Jordan-Hare, the Aggies came out firing as Pavia found Star Thomas in the end zone to put them up 17-7 to start the half. Then a couple drives later, Pavia's short pass to Eli Stowers put his team up by 2 scores. The Tigers lessened the score gap with an Alex McPherson field goal, his 18th consecutive, but it was not enough because after a failed onside kick, New Mexico State had perfect field position and Mikayla Young signed, sealed, and delivered with a 2-yard run to the end zone. New Mexico State upsets Auburn for the first time ever, 31-10. Here's what Auburn head coach Hugh Freeze said about the Aggies' performance and his team's lack of effort.
Jerry's a heck of a football coach. They had the right calls at the right time. They milked the clock. I mean, I bet we didn't have 40 offensive plays between the penalties that kept killing ourselves with that and them controlling the clock. So give them credit for that. But the effort we had was not what Auburn deserves.
This loss comes ahead of Auburn's toughest matchup this season as they host number 8 Alabama for the annual Iron Bowl. The Tigers look to upset the Tide in order to get their first 7-win season since 2019. Again, the final score tonight, New Mexico 31, Auburn 10. I'm Mikayla Kelly, Eagle Eye TV.
After that unexpected upset, Hugh Freeze and company look to take on Nick Saban and the Crimson Tide. We have reporter Vince Wolfram with his coverage of the Iron Bowl.
Crimson Red versus Orange and Blue. This is the Iron Bowl, Alabama, Auburn in Jordan-Hare Stadium, and this was a game for the ages. Alabama had the rock first and boomed their way into the end zone for a quick 6 with running back Roydell Williams finding the end zone. Auburn quickly responded. After a rush-filled drive, Damari Alston spun, dove, and broke the plane to even the game at 7s. Both fast starts from each team. After a Bama field goal to open quarter 2, in just 3 plays, Auburn was back in the end zone as Javaris Johnson off the sweep, 12 yards to the crib. Alabama scored a touchdown before the half, so the Tide led 17-14 at the break. Third quarter, Peyton Thorne said, "Let me put this ball on a platter and let wide open Javaris Johnson eat off the plate." Bama trying to regain the lead. Crimson kicker Will Reichert from 42, not so fast. The Jordan-Hare crowd celebrating like it was 2013 again. Auburn momentum was growing. Peyton Thorne on 2nd and 17 turns on the Jets and scoot. 22 yards to the Bama 8. Auburn couldn't capitalize on the touchdown but managed for a field goal, 24-20 Auburn leading. Then Alabama punted the ball back to Auburn, but Coy Moore dropped the punt and the ball was recovered by the Tide at the Auburn 30. 4 minutes to play. Bama must capitalize, 4th and 1, and they convert on the pitch play here, unlocking a new set of downs. But on 2nd down, a miscommunication on the snap resulted in a loss of 18 yards, followed by a 3rd down penalty, setting up 4th and goal from the 31-yard line. 43 seconds remaining, and that's when Jalen Milroe did the unthinkable. A prayer to Isaiah Bond. Caught. Touchdown, Alabama. The mill throw had the Auburn faithful in shambles. A brutally silent Jordan-Hare Stadium crowd in complete shock. This interception on the final Auburn snap confirmed the Crimson Tide victory. Alabama 27, Auburn 24. Classic Iron Bowl fashion. A matchup in which Alabama has now won 8 of the past 10 times, making this win the Tide's 4th in a row. Auburn finished the regular season 6-6 and now awaits a bowl game announcement in the next couple of weeks. Until next time, from Jordan-Hare Stadium, I'm Vince Wolfram, Eagle Eye TV.
In other football news, Elijah McAllister was named to the SEC Community Service Team for football. In just his first year at Auburn, the graduate transfer from Vanderbilt was voted team captain. His foundation, All for One, One for All, helps young people and families in both Auburn and his home state of New Jersey. Next, the Tigers will look to see which bowl game they will be selected for when the selection committee announces the games this Sunday.
With bowl games on the horizon, that only means one thing. The college football playoffs are also coming up. And here to talk about them are reporters Paige Hunter and Micah Farmer. Let's see what they have to say.
The CFP committee released its final set of rankings today. This is the last set before Selection Sunday, coming up this Sunday, December 3rd. And I mean, not much changed other than Michigan and Ohio State, but our top 6 coming in was Georgia, Michigan, Washington, Florida State, Oregon, and then Ohio State at 6, which I think after this past weekend is, I mean, that's good.
You see Florida State move back into the top 4 after the Ohio State loss. It's just really a question of what happens in the Pac-12 title game. If Florida State loses to Louisville, what happens with the Big 12 champion? So we'll have to see. But as for our predictions, we have Georgia knocking off Alabama, remaining in that 1 slot. Michigan taking care of business versus Iowa, staying in the 2 slot. Then we have Oregon upsetting Washington, getting into the 3 slot. And then our 4 slot, we have the Texas Longhorns. After beating Oklahoma State, winning the Big 12, another 1-loss conference champion gets into the playoffs.
There's no way they can be left out. If they win, there's no way they can be left out.
If Florida State wins, I think there's definitely a way they can get left out. But they need a Florida State loss, and I think they're guaranteed a spot if they can win. But Texas is really going to be rooting for the Cardinals on Saturday.
I do too. I think so too. And at 5, we have Ohio State after that loss to Michigan. I mean, I think this was just a guarantee out for them. There is still a possibility, depending on how some things shake up.
I think it's very difficult for Ohio State.
I think it's very unlikely, but you know what?
I think you need...
It could happen.
You need a big Washington win. You need Georgia to win, Michigan to win. You need Florida State to lose to Louisville, and you need Texas to lose to Oklahoma State. So there is a path, but I think it is a very difficult one for the Buckeyes.
Very unlikely. And then at 6, we had Florida State. Ultimately, don't know if they can get that win against Louisville, and that is just...
Yeah.
That game, if they lose to Louisville, the Florida State and Louisville game is going to determine a lot.
That game is really going to determine who gets your 3 and 4 slot.
I don't know about Texas at 4. We're going to have to see when the final rankings coming out. But coming up, we have volleyball and men's basketball, as well as the best reporter we have, our weather reporter, Albert Osorio.
But before we go, it's my favorite time of the night, Auburn trivia.
Oh, yeah.
So when was the last time the Auburn won a bowl game? A, 2015 in the Birmingham Bowl. B, 2020 Outback Bowl. C, 2018 Music City Bowl. Or D, 2017 Sugar Bowl.
Let us know on our X at EETV_sports to see if you're right. Sports Night in Auburn, we'll be right back. Good evening, y'all. I'm Albert Osorio, and here's your weather report of the week. Even though football season in Jordan-Hare may be over, our two biggest rivals, the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Georgia Bulldogs, will face in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium for the SEC Championship this Saturday at 4:03 Central. If you're taking the trip to Atlanta, there will be a 60% chance of rain with a high of 64 and a low of 58 getting there. So make sure to bring a raincoat on your way inside the stadium. But don't worry about a delay because the stadium does have a retractable roof. Meanwhile, Neville Arena will start to rock as Auburn men's basketball will take on Virginia Tech today at 8:15 p.m. for the ACC-SEC Challenge. Don't worry about rain today, but do worry about the temperature because it will be a little bit cold. It will be a cold, clear night with a high of 54 and a low of 27. That's all I have for the weather report of the week. I'm Albert Osorio, and you're watching Sports Night in Auburn.
Welcome back to Sports Night in Auburn. I'm Faith Richardson.
And I'm Justin Stuckey. If you said the answer was C, the 2018 Music City Bowl, then you were correct. Auburn took on Purdue, defeating the Boilermakers 63-14 on December 28, 2018. Since then, Auburn has lost their last 3 bowl games. That's a lot of bowl games.
That's a lot of bowl games.
But hopefully, we can have some good luck this year. We're projected to go to the Music City Bowl again. Hopefully, have some good luck and get the dub.
Do you think we're going to go?
I think we'll go. And I think we'll win. War Eagle, all day.
Do you think we're going to go to the bowl game?
Oh, we are going to go to the bowl game. So y'all stay tuned for that. We're going to do a live segment out there in Nashville. Stay tuned.
Oh, I think it's going to be the best thing that we've done yet.
Epic.
Y'all just wait. Now jumping over to women's volleyball, over the last 2 weeks, the Tigers have played in 4 games. Starting off, the Tigers finished up their road schedule in Starksville when they played Mississippi State. Unfortunately, the Bulldogs took the win, beating Auburn 3-2. Then back at home, the Orange and Blue had their final 3 matches. First up was LSU. In dominant fashion, Auburn swept LSU, sealing the win in just 3 sets. This marks Auburn's first win over LSU since 2016 and their 4th sweep on the season.
However, the sweeping didn't stop there. Next up, the Crimson Tide came to Neville Arena to try and take home the W, but they were unsuccessful. And yet another sweep, Auburn defeated Alabama 3-0. With this win, Auburn reached its 2nd straight 20-win season, and head coach Brent Crouch picked up his 150th career win. Finally, Auburn looked to end their season strong by upsetting number 9 Arkansas. Sadly, the team was not successful. In a 5-set thriller, the Tigers ultimately fell to the Razorbacks 3-2.
In other volleyball news, sophomore outside hitter Madison Shear was named All-SEC. Shear finished up the 2023 regular season with 374 kills, 3.34 kills per set, 3.6 points per set, and a 2.6 hitting percentage, and a 0.48 blocks per set. This comes after she was named to the All-SEC freshman team last season. Coming up for Auburn is the NCAA tournament in Louisville, Kentucky. For the first time ever, the Tigers have been earned a berth to go to the NCAA tournament in back-to-back seasons. They're at seed 7, and to start the tournament off, they will take on Western Michigan first tomorrow. If they advance to round 2, they will then face the winner of the number 2 seed, Louisville versus Wright State on Friday. Let's check out what head coach Brent Crouch and sophomores Akasha Anderson and Kendall Kemp had to say about their mindsets going into the tournament.
We're on a 3-match streak right now. Even though we're 2-1, we've played 3 really good matches in a row, and that's been something we've talked about since the first weekend, right, Kendall and Akasha, about consistency. All right, and so building some more consistency. I think that's the big takeaway. Okay, let's make it 4 in a row where we're playing really well and we're clicking. And I just think when you play a lot in the row really well, the confidence gets really, really high. And so win or lose, that's what we obviously want to play our best game. But if we win and play well, then I think our confidence is going to be really high heading into Louisville, which we'll need.
On to men's basketball, the Orange and Blue traveled to the concrete jungle to compete in the Legends Classic in Brooklyn. Reporter Joleigh Cavanagh was in the Big Apple. Let's check her take on Game 1 against the Fighting Irish.
Auburn basketball is taking on Notre Dame in the first game of the Legends Classic. Let's take a look. Auburn took on Notre Dame for the first time ever at the Legends Classic in Brooklyn, New York at Barclays Center. Notre Dame had won the Legends Classic back in 2016, and Auburn had won it back in 2019. The Tigers started off hot with Jakai Broom scoring all 6 of Auburn's first few points. Then comes in Aiden Holloway with this 3-point jumper. Ooh, and he almost falls. KD Johnson was hyping up the freshman after this play. Chad Baker-Mazar then had the lead up to 10 with this free throw. Notre Dame tries to make a comeback, but Trey Donaldson says nuh-uh with this three-pointer and then the jumper. Notre Dame once again looking to come back, gets a few points on the board. However, Chris Moore says nope, 3-point, sunk, and then Dylan with the dunk, of course. KD was hype with the Tigers' performance. Notre Dame, however, was then able to come up and cut the lead to 6 going into halftime. However, after the second half, the Tigers were on fire with Aiden Holloway's 3, and then some. Extra point is good. The freshman make it a 4-point play. The Tigers were hype after going on a 13-point run. Notre Dame tries to cut the lead, but the Tigers were just way too hot. Here's Chris Moore and then KD with a 2. Auburn had 5 Tigers score double digits. Aiden Holloway, the freshman, had 15, and so did Jakai Broom with 15 points. Next up was Jalen Williams with 11 points, including these 2 dunks from Trey Donaldson. Boom. Next up, Chris Moore had 10 points, and off the bench, so did Trey Donaldson. The Tigers defeated Notre Dame 83-59 and will look to play St. Bonaventure to take it all home. Here's what Bruce Pearl had to say about the next matchup.
We have a chance now to play a very, very tough, hungry St. Bonaventure team that will be playing tomorrow like it's their chance to it's their bid for the NCAA tournament. I told my guys that, in a sense that they've been looking forward to this tournament and getting a chance to play against the 3 teams that came to their town or their state. And so this is a game that they're going to play tomorrow like they're fighting for their NCAA tournament lives. So
I'm Joleigh Cavanagh with Eagle Eye TV.
Justin, what was so funny?
You know, our director, Jakai Spikes, behind the scenes, is a comedian in her own right.
She deserves to be on camera more often over
Yeah,
here.
you got to check out the behind the scenes and subscribe to Sports Night in Auburn Plus after the show.
And if you go on our Instagram, there's going to be behind the scenes of this show, and you can find more
You're not gonna
on our
miss
future
it.
shows.
I'm
So make sure you go and you follow our Instagram.
Yeah, but we got to move on in the show. So Faith, hit it.
All right. After defeating Notre Dame on Thursday, Auburn advanced to the championship match on Friday and took on St. Bonaventure once again. Here's Joleigh Cavanagh with coverage from the game.
It was a great night at Barclays Center. After defeating Notre Dame Thursday night, Auburn looked to bring home the hardware against St. Bonaventure in the championship matchup of the Legends Classic in the concrete jungle. The Bonnies started it off with Chad Venning making 2 shots, giving St. Bonaventure a 4-2 lead. However, this was the only lead they would have all game as Auburn dominated, making shot after shot. The first half was the Jakai Broom show as the preseason All-SEC first-teamer had 13 points in the first half alone. This even included this steal from KD Johnson that ended in a Jakai Broom dunk. Boom. The Orange and Blue even had 7 3-pointers in the first half from 5 different players. Here's one from Trey Donaldson. Then another buzzer beater from KD Johnson. Freshman McDonald All-American Aiden Holloway even had 2 of his own. The Tigers went on a 13-3 run to close out the half, including this 3 from Chad Baker-Mazar and a buzzer beater from Denver Jones that had Auburn going Cadillac crazy. Here's what Jakai Broom had to say about going into the second half.
That's huge. You know, Coach decided to go strong, put Jalen Williams at the 5. And, you know, there was more quicker out there. So, you know, he had an electric dunk. And then he just fed off our energy, hit a 3-ball, and hit another one to end the half. I think Chad and Denver Jones. And just gave us energy going into halftime with that momentum.
Coming out the half, the Tigers never wavered, keeping the lead for the rest of the game. Dylan Cardwell even went 6 for 6 on the free throw line, which required her seatbelt. Auburn would end up winning 77-60, taking home their second ever Legends Classic championship after previously winning in 2019. Janai Broome was named the Legends Classic MVP after scoring double digits in both games and averaging 16.5 points and 5.5 rebounds. Broome was also named to the All-Tournament team alongside Jalen Williams, who secured his second career double-double against the Bonnies with 11 points and 10 rebounds. Next up, the Tigers will head back to the Plains to take on Alabama A&M on Tuesday. From Eagle Eye TV, this has been Joleigh Cavanagh.
The Tigers look to continue their winning streak when they travel back to the Plains to play Alabama A&M on Tuesday. Reporter Zach Carter was courtside. Let's watch his view of the matchup.
Coming in hot after winning the Legends Classic last week in New York, the Auburn Tigers come out to host Alabama A&M in their 40th consecutive home sellout in Neville Arena.
With 2 days until Thanksgiving, the Tigers start cooking early. This three from Jalen Williams starts the fire. Adding a little bit of spice to the mix, Chad Baker-Mazzara with the no-look pass to Williams for the flush. Auburn jets out to a 12-0 lead. Alabama A&M trying to get going. Willie Tavares going to get a 3 to go at the end of the shot clock. Dylan Cardwell to Katie Johnson in the corner. 3 is good. The spark plug for the Tigers came up with some big plays per usual. Space on the wing for Johnson, and that's all he needs as he rises up for the jam. Blink and you'll miss this pass from Johnson to Johnson, and that's not the last of Chaney Johnson. We'll see. Auburn highlight after highlight against the Bulldogs. Janai Broome says, "Excuse me," and gets to the rack for a nice finger roll after coming off the bench for Dylan Cardwell in this one. And here we go. Back-to-back plays here from Chaney Johnson. Gets going with a thunderous slam. And on the other end, active defense turns into beautiful offense. The steal leads to the windmill dunk and a game-high 15 points for Chaney Johnson. Auburn had 4 players with 10 or more points, including freshman Aiden Holloway with this 3. Alabama A&M didn't have a single scorer reach double digits. Here's what Bruce Pearl and Chaney Johnson had to say after his big game.
Todd Chaney was terrific. I thought he was terrific all game long. I mean, he was physical, he was athletic, played well defensively. Just really so happy for him.
I try not to let missed shots really mess with me. I just go out there and play, and like you said, like the shot's gonna fall eventually.
Auburn runs away with this one early, winning 84-54. Next up for the Tigers, they host Virginia Tech in the ACC-SEC Challenge here in Neville Arena on Wednesday at 8:15. For Eagle Eye TV, I'm Zach Card.
When we come back, we will bring you up to speed on women's basketball and swim and dive. However, again, my favorite part of the show.
It's become my favorite as well. It's trivia time. Who was the highest draft pick in Auburn women's basketball history? Was it A, DeWanna Bonner, B, Unique Thompson, C, Monique Morehouse, or D, Whitney Body?
Test your Auburn knowledge on our X to see if you know the correct answer. We'll catch you up after break.
You're back watching Sports Night in Auburn. I'm Faith Richardson.
And I'm Justin Stuckey.
Wait, that was wrong.
But you know what the right answer is?
What?
Choice A. So if you guessed, then you were correct if you said DeWanna Bonner. She was selected with the 5th overall pick in 2009 WNBA draft. The 5-time WNBA All-Star is a 14-year veteran and currently plays for the Connecticut Sun. In addition, it was just recently announced that Auburn will retire Bonner's number 24 jersey. Her jersey is set to be raised in Neville Arena on January 21st. Speaking of women's basketball, Auburn took on California to try and keep their undefeated record alive. In Neville Arena is reporter Mikayla Kelly talking about the game.
2 months ago, Auburn football took down Cal. Tonight, Auburn women's basketball did not have the same success against the Golden Bears. Cal came into Neville Arena and took down the Tigers 67-53. It was a battle between the undefeated Friday night inside Neville Arena, and while Auburn's own Honesty Scott Grayson put up big numbers, leading the team with 18 points and 9 rebounds, it was not enough to compete with Cal's aggressive style of play. The Golden Bears claimed a lead early and never wavered. Led by a trio of starters, Marta Suarez, Michelle Anaya, and Leilani McIntosh. Caitlin Duhan got momentum going for the Tigers, going 3 for 3 to contribute to Auburn's 12-2 advantage in bench points in the first half. After 3 quarters and trailing by a dozen points, Marshawn Bostic's takeaway and layup lessened the score gap to 10. Bostic's point from the foul line would be the last point for the orange and blue. Then a final free throw make from Cal's Kemery Martin sealed the win. Here's what head coach Johnny Harris said about Auburn's first loss this season.
Just a lack of toughness, attention to detail, and, letting them know they got to get in the gym. They basically played off of us and forced us to make shots, and we were very uncomfortable in that situation.
Next up for Coach Jay and company is a trip to Orlando Monday night to take on UCF at 6 p.m. Central Time. Again, the final score tonight, Cal 67, Auburn 53. This has been Mikayla Kelly, Eagle Eye TV.
After suffering their first loss of the season, the Tigers hoped to bounce back at UCF when they played the Knights. However, that was not the case. Auburn fell to UCF with a score of 60-53. Despite leading at halftime, a 13-4 run by UCF to start the third quarter gave the Knights a lead that they would never give up. Sophomore Sydney Shaw was Auburn leading scorer with a career-high 17 points.
Looking to break their 2-game losing streak, Auburn hosted Alabama A&M in the Jungle. With his recap of the match is my co-anchor, Justin Stuckey.
Women's hoops were back Sunday afternoon inside Neville Arena as the Tigers played host to the Alabama A&M Bulldogs. Auburn set the defensive tone early as Marshawn Bostic picks her pocket and takes it all the way for an easy layup. Somebody called the principal because newcomer Taylon Collins is an absolute bully in the paint, finishing for a strong 2. Sophomore standout Sydney Shaw comes off the screen, pull up, bottoms. Auburn guard Jemiah Mingo Young calls her own number as she takes it coast to coast for the and one finish. The Tigers grab all momentum in this one as Collins rises up for the buzzer beater at the end of the quarter. McKenna Edens makes her presence known as she knocks down the money ball tray. The motto for the Tigers in this game was pressure, pressure, and more pressure. Tigers force the turnover and Edens gets the bucket and one finish. Momentum continued in the second half for Auburn as Sydney Shaw cashes out from 3. Alabama A&M's freshman guard Kayla Turner makes a crafty move, taking it all the way to the bucket for a score. She led all scorers with 21 points in this matchup. And there's no better feeling as Adia Young scored her first ever career points as an Auburn Tiger. Sydney Shaw led Auburn with 15 total points as the Tigers routed the Bulldogs 68-45. Here's Coach Johnny Harris postgame.
I did think our team played hard. Wanted to get back to pressing. We pressed most of the game, so we wanted to get back to that. I thought they did a good job of being in the passing lane, helping, understanding where the traps needed to come from, and that's what we've been working on. So,
from Neville Arena, I'm Justin Stuckey, Eagle Eye TV.
The Auburn Tigers will take on the Clemson Tigers tomorrow night at home, and then we'll head off to Birmingham to take on the UAB Blazers on Sunday.
Finally, we can't forget about swim and dive. The orange and blue was in dog territory when they competed in the UJ Invite in Athens. The 3-day event finished with both the men and women's team in second place. The men finished with a score of 715.5, while the women had a score of 789. 2 Tigers broke school records at the Invite. On night 1, junior Mason Matthias broke his own school record in the 500 free. Then on night 3, graduate student Aiden Stoffel became the first Auburn swimmer to go sub 139, setting the school record. Currently, Swim and Dive is hosting Auburn Long Course Invitational. In addition, a few Tigers are currently competing in the Tennessee Invitational, the ICA Long Course Open.
Before we sign off for the semester, here's a look at all the upcoming events for this next week. Tonight there is men's basketball and swim and dive. Tomorrow night is going to be women's volleyball and women's basketball. And over the weekend, there will be more men and women's basketball.
Well, that about wraps up Sports Night in Auburn for the semester. Be sure to keep up with us on our Instagram at EagleEyeTV_sports.
And our Twitter at EETV_sports while we're gone. We'll be back with more Sports Night in Auburn in the new year. With that being said, I'm Faith Richardson.
And I'm Justin Stuckey. From everyone here at Eagle Eye, we hope you have a happy and healthy holiday season. Good night, and War Eagle.